the Omni building. It's the Cleveland Sports 360 show. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody listening online, here's your host, LG.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cleveland Sports 360 show. We are recording this, right, Alex? We just don't want this moment in history to be lost. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you have seen the news today. You saw what's going on with the NCAA, and you just can't believe that one of the penalties was involving taking away the victories Penn State had for like the last 14 years, or, you know, actually 13 years, because they just said through the 2011 season. Obviously, the 2012 season isn't even here yet. I tell you, that's a joke in my book. What the hell is that going to do to solve anything, man? They still won the football games. As far as I'm concerned, Paterno is the winningest coach. Just because you strip them of the wins doesn't mean nothing. It's like, you know, you won the game, now we're taking it away. I don't see what that's going to do.
Yeah, it's not like we're going to forget about any of their conference championships.
No, it's a joke. I mean, it's literally a joke. Why the NCAA thinks that has anything to do with punishing somebody, it's well beyond me. We can't figure it out. What they should really do is anybody that had anything to do with covering up the Jerry Sandusky scandal should be charged and prosecuted for aiding and abetting in a crime. If it was a normal person on the street and you were caught covering something up while a crime was being committed, or you tried to disguise some evidence, you would be charged for trying to cover up that crime. Why they didn't go into Penn State and take everybody aside that had anything to do with this massive cover-up that took place and prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. Now that is a punishment, and that would stop things like this from taking place further in the future, one would hope. Just knowing you could do jail time covering up a heinous crimes like the ones Jerry Sandusky was committing. One time there was a detective that worked for the university, I believe, that investigated a complaint that Jerry Sandusky was involved in the shower with some young kid. And the detective went to Sandusky's house and said, "You shouldn't be showering with young boys." And Sandusky says, "I know, I won't do it again." Why didn't this detective follow this up further? And why didn't this detective stop it from happening? Well, that's enough about the Penn State scandal. We've lived with this for a while now. We're getting sick and tired of hearing about it, I'm sure. We're going to start talking some Cleveland Indians baseball, folks. I think we have a caller. Caller, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Hey, what's your name?
This is Joshua Lobdell.
Hey, Joshua, all the way from Detroit. How you doing, buddy?
How are you guys doing down there?
Oh, we're doing fantastic, man. Hey, congratulations. I see your Detroit Tigers are really putting some games under their belt now. I'm surprised at the help they're getting from the Indians and the White Sox. So you guys just happen to be in the right spot at the right time. Tell me, Joshua, introduce you.
Got hot when I needed to.
Yeah, introduce yourself to the crowd here, man. Tell them who you are.
Oh, I'm Joshua Lobdell. I'm the managing editor of DetroitJockey.com, and I'm a freelance writer. I write all over the place. I also host a podcast about the CFL on Fridays. And I'm just a big sports fan, man. All sports, Detroit, Cleveland, all over the place. You know what I mean?
Don't forget, this guy is a Browns fan, ladies and gentlemen.
I am a Browns fan. I am indeed that.
So how does one go about seeing your work, Joshua?
DetroitJockCity.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Joshua Lobdell. I'm really easy to find, or find me on Twitter at Detroit Navy. And there's links to everything that I do there.
There you have it, folks. And Joshua has even taken time out of his busy schedule to write a few articles for the Cleveland Sports 360 site, which I haven't seen one in a while, Joshua. I know you're busy, but get back to it when you can. Hey, Josh.
If you hear there's big breaking news just came through the wires right now.
What is it?
The Detroit Tigers have traded Jacob Turner to the Miami Marlins for Omar Infante and Anibal Sanchez.
Oh, my God. You've got to be kidding me, man.
Yep, it's a done deal, man.
So this Tigers
You're
team.
telling me they passed on Matt Garza? Wow.
Joshua, you're telling me this Tiger team's coming to Cleveland packing more heat than they already had. Is that what you're trying to say?
That's what I'm trying to say, man, and we need it because we've gone 1-5 against the Tribe this year, and that ain't good. And we have not played very good baseball in Progressive Field this year, and they really need this boost right now.
Well, don't forget, you went 1-5 against the first half Cleveland Indians, man. This is the Cleveland Indians is a team now that lost the last 7 out of 10 games. We're on a 4-in-a-row losing streak. We got to try to win against the Baltimore Orioles tonight to avoid being swept, man. And if we can't avoid the sweep tonight and gain a little bit of momentum before the Tigers visit, this is not the same Detroit Tigers team that we played in the first half before the All-Star break. And unfortunately for the Cleveland fans, I don't think we're going to see the same Cleveland Indians team that we saw before the All-Star break either. What's your thoughts on that?
I think the Cleveland Indians have cooled off a bit, and the Detroit Tigers are kind of hot right now. So,
I mean, Verlander, this All-Star appearance he made, pretty much either he went in there just thinking this is an exhibition game, I'm really not going to exert myself, or it was a serious wake-up call because in his next outing, he pretty much came out and annihilated the hitters, man. I mean, he's back on fire. And get this one, Josh. We're throwing McAllister, a young pitcher, at Verlander on Thursday night. That's the best that the Tribe has to offer against Justin Verlander on Thursday night in the series finale.
The Sox have made a couple of trades now. The Tigers have made trades. It might be time for Cleveland Indians to make a move.
Well, that's funny that you bring that up, man. We have an ownership in place here that obviously doesn't know how to crack loose with the payroll, man. I mean, this guy's cut the team down. We had a $187 million payroll when he bought the team, and we're down into the $60 million figure, man. So until Dolan cracks loose with some cash, I'm pretty much thinking we're stuck with what we got. There's talk right now that Chris Perez, our closer, could be on the trading block to the Giants out there in San Francisco, man. Have you heard anything about that development, Joshua?
I've heard some rumors that they'll be sellers here at the deadline, and that's not good because that's a great baseball town, and that's a great baseball team. And I don't like it any more than you guys do. But, Detroit, we kind of got the opposite problem. We got an owner that goes out and spends a lot of money.
Yeah, you guys got a guy that cracks loose.
We don't get the result that money deserves, you know what I mean?
Right. I mean, definitely you guys have a high payroll. He went out and he got Price Fielder. He spent a big buck on that guy. I mean, he's not afraid to spend the money. He's got the money. Unfortunately, in Cleveland, the ownership may be the exact opposite of what you have. This is a guy, Larry Dolan, who wanted to buy and bring back the Cleveland Browns into the NFL, man. The NFL commissioner and the group of owners stopped that from taking place because they didn't think Dolan had the capital it took to run an NFL franchise. Were you ever aware of that, Josh?
Yeah, I have heard that before. You got good owners, you got bad owners, and it's just one of them things. You know what I mean? Sometimes the fans get stuck with the bad owner, and they suffer with them. You know what I mean? Or
an owner that overextended himself because he always wanted to own a professional sports franchise, and he finally got one, and he doesn't have enough capital to back up the whole project. Now, Joshua, tell me.
We've seen that a lot in other sports in other towns, too. That owners get overextended, and it's bad for everybody, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, you being up there by Detroit, and you pretty much lived through some bad years of sports taking place there, what do you think has turned around? I mean, it's not only the Detroit Tigers. I see the Detroit Lions. Last year they had a phenomenal season. What do you think it took to get those franchises turned around? If you had advice to give to Cleveland owners, what would that advice be?
Well, I don't know about the owners. I would tell the fans to stop buying tickets. They work here, and the Tigers were the worst team in the '90s, baseball-wise. The Detroit Lions went 0-16, and it wasn't until the fans stopped buying tickets, started showing their rage on social media outlets like Facebook and Twitter, the ownership said, that's enough. We got to get this done. We got to win to bring the fans back.
So basically it was a revolt by the fans that turned around the sports franchises in Detroit.
Absolutely.
So I tell you, man, there's a lot of people in Cleveland talking about things of that nature. And then, the Dolans want to present it as a catch-22. When the team starts winning, we'll start spending money. When the people start showing up, maybe we'll start spending money. Well, unfortunately, until the team wins, I think he's going to have a problem getting the people to come down there because they're sick and tired of cracking loose with their hard-earned cash that's not really coming to them that easy these days to see the garbage.
Detroit Tigers went all in and went out and got Ivan Rodriguez back in 2005 or 2004 and proved to us that they were going to do what it took to win, and then we started going back to the ballpark. And in Cleveland, if you need something like that, you need the owner to be invested in the club, prove that he's going to try to build a winner, and the fans will come back.
Absolutely. That's what I've been saying. Now, Joshua, being a professional freelance writer like you are, you've covered a lot of different sports teams, and you've seen pretty much a lot of games this season in professional baseball. Do you think that the Indians stand a chance of beating the Detroit Tigers in this next 3-game series?
Not at all.
You think Detroit's that dominant right now that they're going to come in?
They're playing that good of baseball right now that they're about to go on a run, I think.
Now let me just
like last.
Let me just run this past you, Joshua. I found kind of interesting. If you caught the glimpse of the highlights of yesterday's Indians game and you saw what happened, we were down 4-0 in the last at bat in the 9th inning. We came up to the plate. We're still down 4-0, and we were able to score 3 runs, man. And what's happened with the Cleveland Indians lately has completely lost their offensive scoring capability. We're leaving base runners out there like crazy. I think we're 27th in the league out of 32 teams as far as bringing guys home right now that are stuck on base. I mean, we pretty much stink offensively. Asdrubal Cabrera in his last 10 games is 7 for 41. He's hitting 171, man. That's not the Asdrubal Cabrera we know. Kipnis, his batting average is falling down. But I found it interesting that the Cleveland Indians were able to step up to that plate last night in the 9th inning, knowing they're down 4-0 to the Baltimore Orioles, which is a team Cleveland beat like crazy when we were in Baltimore. I think we scored 32 runs total against the Orioles in that series, and then we're coming here and not scoring any runs. But we were able to step up to the plate and score 3 runs last night. We fell 1 run short of tying and obviously 2 runs short of winning. But then the manager, Manny Acta, comes to the plate, to his post-game conference, Joshua, and he says, the Indians are not being aggressive hitters in the strike zone. Okay? So I really think that's comedy, because if this guy is the manager of a Major League Baseball team and the Indians aren't being aggressive enough swingers in the strike zone, why isn't he telling his team, get out there and get me some hits, man? Did you guys ever see anything like that in Detroit, Joshua?
Yeah, I think the Tigers' offense in the beginning part of the year had that exact problem. They get guys on base. They get your Prince Fielder, your Miguel Cabrera off the bat with guys on and favorable counts, and they just weren't getting it done. And baseball's a real tricky sport. You get hot, you get cold, there's streaks.
And it's a long season, man.
It seems like every baseball team is really, really streaky. And it just happens. And so far, it happens good for the Tigers as we're getting hot at the right time. Bad for the Indians, they're getting hot at exactly the wrong time. Or they're getting cold at exactly the wrong time.
Right. And, we saw it at the end of last season. We kind of put the team together with Band-Aids last year, if you remember. And by the end of the season, we really had nothing left in the gas tank to mount a charge and even come close to it.
Yeah, I was in Cleveland at an Indians game last fall, right at the end. And it was not the same team I had seen on TV the whole year, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's totally different. It was a completely different team. I don't think the Indians are that far gone yet. I do think they lost their focus offensively. I think that the batters at best are streaky right now. Even a guy like Jason Kipnis, who used to come through in a clutch, he hasn't been able to produce much lately offensively. You got Carlos Santana. I don't know what his problem has been. His numbers are literally looking better right now if you look at his last 10 games, only because he got a few hits in the last few games and made a couple things happen. If you go back 12 games, and forget about the last 2 games. His numbers are horrendous, man. I mean, the guy was in the toilet as far as slumping goes. I mean, down in Tampa, he couldn't get anything going, man. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, it's unfortunate for the Indians that we do have to, you know, it's almost like the guys that put the Major League Baseball schedule together this year, Josh, knew what was in the stars, man. I mean, Detroit gets done pretty much kicking the shit out of the Chicago White Sox, and now they're coming to Cleveland, man. I mean, the White Sox were red hot all first half as well. What did you take out of the White Sox getting swept pretty much by the Detroit Tigers, Joshua?
Not even getting swept. Is you got the guy they just traded goes out there the game before the White Sox come to town and gets lit up. It's an awful start. Gets shelled by the Los Angeles Angels. And then Jacob Turner takes him on yesterday and goes out and earns his first win, and today gets traded. So he was hitting those spot starts obviously to up his trade value. And, you know, the White Sox, they killed us all year. See what the Indians, they killed us the whole first half of the year, and now we get hot. Now the team thinks it can beat anybody, and that's a dangerous thing for this team. Because you talk about a team with 3 Hall of Famers on it, and the sporting cast is getting better.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying as far as the schedule, the way it was set up. It's uncanny that after the All-Star break, you get a series with the White Sox, who were red hot all first half, and Detroit cooled their jets a little bit. And now the Detroit Tigers are coming into Cleveland, taking on an Indians team that doesn't even hardly resemble the first half Indians that we saw. I mean, we were right there neck and neck with the White Sox the entire year. That's the beauty of baseball, though. It's a 162-game season. Anything can happen. It's the longest season in, as far as games go, the amount of games that are played than any other professional sport. I'm just thinking, I wonder what could happen if the Indians can dig down deep and be competitive this week, starting tomorrow night once the Detroit Tigers come to Cleveland. What's your thoughts, Josh?
I think they're definitely capable of it. Now, if they do it or not, that's a different story. And, I'm a little bit scared of this series right here because the Tigers need to keep being hot. And, again, we're 1-5 against the Indians. I'm sure that's the first half Indians, but still, until we actually go out there and do it, you never know what's going to happen, and that's why we love baseball. And
that's the thing, too, and that's what I'm saying. The Indians are in a slump offensively. I mean, obviously, to see Cabrera hitting 171 in his last 10 games, that's not the Asdrubal Cabrera that could come alive at any second. It's almost like you got a lit fuse on a bomb down here, and it may take the Detroit Tigers coming into Progressive Field starting tomorrow night to make this bomb explode. Is that about the way you're looking at it there, Joshua?
Yeah, I think that's about it, man.
Yeah, because it could happen at any given moment, and that's, like you said, that's why we love baseball. Is there any keys or weaknesses? What would it take for the Indians to beat the Detroit Tigers?
The way to beat the Detroit Tigers is to get guys on base, stay aggressive on stealing bases and running, and put pressure on that defense. The defense isn't very great. Now, Omar Infante's going to help that a bit, and he'll probably be in this series now. But that's the way you beat this team. Is you hit a lot of ground balls, you hit them at guys, you get on base, you stay very, very aggressive on base, and you put pressure on that defense. Because the starting pitching is still going to be pretty good. You're going to face 3 of our best, in Doug Fister, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander. But those guys can have off nights too.
The problem is that we need to have an on night. We can hit Verlander. We've proved that before. The Cleveland Indians know how to get to Justin Verlander. That's not a big issue. The issue is if this offense has anything to put out there and show us that they can do it. As far as getting guys on base, that's another problem that we have, man. I think right before you called in, I think we're 27th in the league as far as getting guys on base and then bringing them around the home plate, man. That seems to be. In Tampa, we've had the bases loaded a few times, and we couldn't bring them around to score runs, man. So getting guys on base is one thing. Getting them across the plate's an entirely different thing there, Joshua. So hopefully we can turn that around and we can give you a little bit of a competitive edge coming up tomorrow night. I think it's going to be an interesting 3-game series, especially is if the Cleveland Indians can find the missing offense that we haven't had lately, man. You're right about the Detroit defense. I mean, you got two big, giant guys playing the corners there, man. I get a kick out of watching that. I remember one time this year, I think it was Cabrera was trying to steal a base. Your third baseman was trying to steal a base. He got thrown out by a mile, looked back and questioned the umpire, like, are you kidding me? You remember that by any chance?
I sure do.
So you got two big guys on first and third there, man, which really does leave a little bit of a hole in your defense, right?
Yeah, and then the middle infielders haven't been very good this year either. And again, that's why they had to make the deal for Omar Infante to come in and play second base regular and add another bat to the lineup.
Well, we're going to see what happens. Let's switch a little bit here, Joshua, because we don't get you on the Cleveland Sports 360 show too often. What do you see happening coming up with the Detroit Lions this coming season, man? Do you think they're going to be as good as they were last year, or do you think they can go to the extra step and be a little bit better, man?
I don't think they're going to be as good. It's been a terrible offseason. We're at 7 offseasons arrests. They just cut Aaron Berry today after his second offseason arrest. They're undisciplined, and that's never a good thing for a football team. You go out, you think they take bad penalties. So head coach Jim Schwartz is going to have to instill a lot of discipline in that team. We got to cut down on the bad penalties. We got to stay focused. And I don't know. I'm real nervous about the Lions this year, to tell you the truth.
Well, being a Browns fan, we could care less about the Lions. I just wanted to get your opinion on them. Now, let's talk about your team, the Cleveland Browns, Joshua. And what do you like about the moves Cleveland made during this 2012 NFL draft, man?
I think if you don't believe in Colt McCoy, you got to go ahead and bring in another guy in, and you might as well do that sooner than later. But I don't know if keeping him around is a really great move.
Do you think
that seems always been the problem with the Cleveland Browns since they've come back to the NFL, is they've never had the one guy. They've had a couple of guys a couple of different times.
Well, we've had 17.
That's not how you build a football team, you know what I mean?
This will be our 17th quarterback since 1999, man, and that's not a good thing, you know?
Right, exactly.
But being a Browns fan, and you even make the trip and come to Cleveland and see some Browns football games, I believe that's true, right?
Yeah, I was at the Miami game last year, and I think I got 2 scheduled this year that I'm going to be at.
So my question to you is, being a Browns fan and loving the Cleveland Browns as much as you do you really believe Brandon Weeden can be the guy?
No.
Neither do I, man. It's funny. There's a lot of people around the area. A lot of people are already giving Brandon Weeden the starting job. One thing that makes me nervous about Brandon Weeden is the fact he had to give up after 5 years in minor league baseball, being in the New York Yankees organization. He suffered all kinds of shoulder problems. Now, I know throwing a fastball is a little bit different than throwing a football, but a football weighs a little bit, and it's kind of heavy. One good hit could end this 29-year-old. He will be 29 years old in October, just into the NFL season. One good hit under the arm when he's back to throw could end his entire career. What don't you like about the selection of Brandon Weeden as the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback, Joshua?
Well, I think you got it all right there. The shoulder is a big concern for me. And 29-year-old NFL rookie, that really hasn't worked out good for other teams in the past. You're going to get a guy, go get a young guy and mold him. And they thought they had that Colt McCoy, and I don't think he's got it. I don't think he's the guy that can do it. But you set your franchise back every time you draft a quarterback like that. You set your franchise back 2 or 3 years. You got to recover from that. The same thing the Detroit Lions did when they went through all those quarterbacks in the early 2000s, and that's why they were that bad. And ultimately, that's an 0-16 season. And Cleveland don't want that. The Browns fans won't take that. They'll take a lot, and they're very loyal fans, but they will not take an 0-16 season.
Right. And we weren't that far away from it a couple times either. But let me ask your opinion on this. Do you think that Colt McCoy had the proper tools surrounding him to get a fair shot with all the changes the Cleveland Browns made? And don't forget, it was the very first season Colt McCoy was a starter in the NFL, was last year. What is your opinion on what we gave Colt McCoy to work with?
So they have failed him greatly. The model of the NFL these days now is you draft a young quarterback, and then you use every other draft pick and every other trade to surround him with as much talent as you can. It's worked in Detroit. It's worked to a lesser extent in St. Louis. That's how you do it. You get them the 3 or 4 best wide receivers you can find, and a young quarterback's best friend is a solid running game, and the Browns haven't had that.
Yeah, we thought we were going to have it, but one of the facts that I like to talk about is Peyton Hillis only had really one good year. That was it. And the reason I think Peyton Hillis had a good year was because we had Lawrence Vickers here. And when Lawrence Vickers was here, I think the special team suffered in everything else. As soon as we got rid of Lawrence Vickers, we saw some things happen that were not in the Browns' favor. Obviously Vickers opened up a lot of holes for Peyton Hillis. We didn't have a guy back there playing fullback that had the capabilities of going out there. And we saw Josh Cribbs not return the kickoffs that we saw him return in the past, or the punt returns, when you had Lawrence Vickers out there. What's your thought about, do you think Colt McCoy should get another shot at being the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback, Joshua?
Yeah, absolutely, you should.
So that's...
without a doubt in my mind.
You have no doubt in your mind, and you've been watching the Cleveland Browns for how long?
Since 1985.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize, Joshua, that the Browns, obviously they realize we got a whole new coaching staff last year. We had a rookie head coach. We had a brand new offense. And what they really fail to realize is what happened with the NFL lockout, man. These guys couldn't even get playbooks handed to them without the 2 weeks before the season started, man. So we didn't have any time to work on anything. So, we had a bunch of young guys coming in to play on the Cleveland Browns, and next thing you know, the season started. So I don't think Colt got a fair shot either. You definitely would like to see him get another crack at it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He needs another shot at it.
All right, man. Well, I want to really thank you so much, Joshua, for giving us a call here. And don't be a stranger, man. You got the number now. Give us a call. We're on every Monday night from 6 to 7 p.m. It'd be interesting to see what happens in the Detroit series coming up for the Indians. And, hey, call me next Monday night, and we'll bust some chops to see which way the series went. What do you think of that?
Sounds real good, man. Sounds real good.
All right, there you have it, man. Give one more shout-out who you are and how they can get a hold of you, Joshua.
I'm Joshua Lobdell. I'm the managing editor of DetroitChalkCity.com, and you can find me on Twitter at Detroit Navy.
Okay, man, there you have it, folks. Go check him out at Twitter. Go check him out on his Facebook page. We're going to end our call with Joshua. We thank him very much for being part of the Cleveland Sports 360 show. Unfortunately, the Detroit Tigers are coming in here real hot. We're going to take about a 2-minute commercial break as soon as Alex stops. There, he's got it now. We're going to come right back with you with a little more of the Cleveland Sports 360 show after this commercial. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to to more of the Cleveland Sports 360 show. If you missed the first half of the show, we had a great call from Joshua Lobdell all the way from Detroit, Michigan. Just canning he calls tonight, right before the Detroit Tigers are set to come in and do battle, hopefully do battle with the Cleveland Indians. I'm hoping it's not a complete blowout, folks. If you were trying to call, give us a call now, area code 216-672-4300. Again, the number is 216-672-4300. We're talking tribe and we're talking Indians baseball. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what's going to happen this week. I don't know what the record's going to be. We're 4.5 games back right now in the AL Central race. We're behind the White Sox by 3 games. The tribe is definitely imploding right now. If you heard my comment to Joshua Lobdell, the Cleveland Indians manager came out in his post-game last night, and he commented on the fact that the tribe isn't being aggressive enough in the strike zone. Excuse me, Maniacta, isn't that part of your frickin' job to point this out to your players and tell them to go up there and be a little bit more aggressive? Isn't it part of being a manager of a Major League Baseball team? We're going to go to the Rush for a Cause phone lines here at StreamingSportsTalk.com. We have another caller. Caller, can you hear me?
Yeah, how's it going, LG?
Hey, not too bad. What's your name, man? Douchebag. Hey, what do you think about the Cleveland Indians and where we're at right now after the All-Star break, man? Give us your honest assessment of this.
I think they're playing really horribly bad baseball. I can't even find the words for it.
Now, for those of you,
like these guys don't even want to be out there playing.
You know, that's what it looked like to me too, douchebag.
They're lethargic. They're getting lazy. Not all of them, you know, but.
Now let me just tell our listeners out there a minute, ladies and gentlemen, this douchebag has called the Cleveland Sports 360 show before. He likes to be called douchebag for what reason I don't know, but you saw this happen last year, and douchebag, you know a little bit about baseball, man. You've coached and you've played some organized baseball, right?
Yeah, I played baseball for a long time. Long time.
Yeah,
but they're going to end up firing what? Their hitting coach now? Someone's got to take the ball.
Is there any talk of that? I haven't heard any mention of that.
No, they haven't talked it yet, but what happened last year?
No, but let's talk about the fact that... No, it was last year we fired the batting coach. There was no doubt about that.
The pitching coach on top of it.
Well, the pitching coach, I don't know. They said he kind of said he was stepping down. But I do believe he was asked to step down, man, and I think a lot of it had to do with the Ubaldo trade.
There's video of him acting like a fool. Oh, by the way, it's your birthday.
Yes, it is.
Happy birthday, LG. Did anybody tell anybody that it's your birthday on the air?
No, I don't want everybody to know it's my birthday because...
Where's the cake, man?
The cake? Hey, LG, believe it or not, is on a weight reduction plan here because...
LG looks like he lost a little weight.
I lost some weight in 1 week. I definitely took off some poundage. I'm back on the workout regime. I got to stick to it. I got to work out every night. 30 minutes on the stair climber does you some great justice. And I just want to tell people this because they probably don't know it. A lot of people think you go to the doctor, you get the blood pressure medication, and, you know, LG has some nutritional background and stuff like that. And once you get on this medication, there's a side effect to everything. But I'll tell you something. This is the God's truth. I dropped, in 1 week's time, 27 points off my blood pressure just by working out on this stair climber 7 times, you know, once a day for a week. That's no bullshit. If you have high blood pressure, you need to go get yourself one of these giant stair climbers like I got and get your butt on there and quit being lazy. Hey, you just lose track of yourself, man, and you forget you need to exercise, I guess. But I'm on it. I'm going to stay on it, and we're going to see what happens by the end of the summer. But anyways, caller, let me ask you a question. When you said it looks like the Indians don't want to be out there, That's a great observation. I mean, how does a team go from playing killer baseball in the first half of the season, take the All-Star break, and come back as flat offensively as they are right now, man?
I don't know that answer. These guys are making, for the most part, minimum is $480,000 or $460,000 a year. How much motivation do they really need?
I mean, you got Hafner who's making $13 million. Obviously, he's the highest paid offensive player on the team, but he's making a lot of money, man. $13 million. He's definitely not producing $13 million worth of hits. Why doesn't the manager talk to his players and instruct them to be more aggressive in the strike zone when you see him on his post game last night talking about the lack of aggressiveness in the strike zone? What's that all about, man?
Well, first and foremost, I have an issue with him talking to the press about that and not talking to his players first. Now, maybe he did talk to his players, but he's got to show a little emotion in that dugout. He's too calm.
Yeah, that's what I asked Vinny Pistano last year when we had him as a guest on the Cleveland Sports 360 show. One of the questions I asked was, do they put this maniac on some kind of volume or something? Some kind of,
if you look at him, you got a good point.
He never gets excited.
It's his job to piss these guys off when need be. I mean, you got to do anything you can to motivate your players.
Yeah,
they need to take a lesson from Vinny Pistano. Those guys. Now, I don't know what Vinny would look like with a bat in his hand, but this guy comes in and he's ready to play, man. He's ready to play.
And I don't know if you saw it, about a week ago or so, or actually when he was down in Tampa and he had a little, the guy got out of it, man. He had a 30-pitch inning again.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you see his reaction when he went back into the dugout?
Yeah. I'm pleased with this.
I mean, the guy had a conniption fit, and he was successful out there on the field.
Right.
It wasn't like he gave up the game. He just was pissed off that he had to work that hard. Why isn't that fire on everybody's face, man?
I don't know what's happening. You got Cabrera at short.
Who's batting 171 in his last 10 games, man. He's 7 for 41 in his last 10 games. Huh?
We don't have a bat on the team that bats. If Cabrera goes down, let's just say, like he's in a slump now, someone's got to pick him up. Someone's got to do something. Chu's batting 293, which, in all honesty, surprised me. I thought he was batting lower than that.
Actually, he was above 300 until this last week, man.
Right. Who's got some intensity? It's just too bad he can't be consistent. Is Shelley Duncan. You watch Shelley Duncan and he strikes out. They cut all the microphones off. They don't want the little kids to hear him. He literally goes berserk.
I'll tell you one thing, douchebag. I asked the Indians to give Shelley Duncan. I mean, I wrote a lot of articles earlier this spring in support of Shelley Duncan. Okay.
Right.
And I thought. And that's another thing, look at the fire Shelley Duncan brought to the offense last year in September, late August and early September of last season. And even in spring training of this year, he had some of that offensive explosiveness.
I don't know what happens to the guy.
Yeah, what did happen to him, man?
Huh?
You have any clue what could have happened to cool him down like this?
Maybe he's doing drugs. Drinking before the game.
I think they have a major league.
What the Reds manager says about Derek Lowe?
He's drinking.
He drinks at the games or the ballpark or something.
Yeah, that takes a lot of nerve for the guy to come out and say something like that.
That Dusty Baker?
Yeah, Dusty Baker. That's the man.
Well, he's a piece of crap anyway. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, what do you think? What's your opinion, caller, of what's going to happen when the Detroit Tigers come to town tomorrow night, man? Do you think the Cleveland Indians can be competitive against the Tigers?
Well, I think if they're not, this is their season. If they get swept by the Detroit, I'm surprised they got swept by Baltimore. But
well, it's not over. We got one more game. We got one more game with the Orioles tonight, man.
Yeah, every nut. every squirrel finds its nut here and there. We played very well against Detroit, but I think...
Well, Detroit's 1-5 against the Indians this year in 2012.
A huge test. We're at that time of the year. This is where it all starts to happen. Anybody that really follows baseball knows that. Unfortunately, last year the Indians at this time were way out in front, and at this time on fell apart. Were they out? How far up front were they last year at this time?
Oh, we had a 15-game lead at one point in the season last year.
Well, that's okay. So maybe they're doing it different. I don't know. I'm hoping they're doing it different.
Well, I was hoping they were doing a little bit different too. It's nice to see them hang around as long as they did, but being 4.5 back right now, it's all after the All-Star break. Really, the Tribe's 7 games. They lost 7 games out of their last 10 games since the All-Star break, man. Think about that.
Maybe they shouldn't let them go home.
That's what I said. And a lot of guys, I heard they had plans to go home, but they didn't go home. So, I don't know, man. You got Hanahan's not doing squat ever since he had his injury. Offensively, he really dropped off, okay? Chu is really developed into a great leadoff batter. The most consistent hitter we have on the team is Michael Brantley. The guy was on fire.
Surprise. I shouldn't say what a surprise, but, I like Michael. I think he plays a hell of an outfield, and I think he's on his back. They do decide to bring Sizemore back. What do you think's going to happen there?
Well, I'm not thinking we might not. Do you really think we're going to see a Grady Sizemore anymore on the Cleveland Indians? You think he's really going to come back this season?
I think in order for them to trade him, he's going to have to. They signed him to what, $6 million this year?
No, $5 million. 1 year.
$5 million?
Yeah, 1 year contract.
Not bad for 1 year, huh?
No, well, look at the money he was going to get if he, but he decided to stay with the Indians.
Anything else, he'll end up in New York or he'll end up somewhere, and he'll end up with a ring other than the Cleveland Indians.
Now, being around baseball as long as you've been around baseball, do you think that this Cleveland Indians offense can get reignited before these Detroit Tigers? Is tonight's game, the last game in the series against Baltimore, a good test? We have to come alive tonight and show something in order for you to believe we can be competitive against the Detroit Tigers this week, or what?
I do believe what you just said. I think they're going to have to hit. Maybe they're looking too far ahead. I don't know what it is, but they haven't been hitting at all. To the point where it's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's definitely embarrassing.
They haven't faced the best pitching over the last 2 weeks either,
Right.
Baltimore's got an okay staff, but I wouldn't say they're, They're not the Texas Rangers staff.
No. And they're certainly not the Detroit Tigers staff.
Damn good pitching coming up.
Now, let me ask you one more question before we let you go, because I know me and you had a lot of discussions last year over the telephone when it comes to the Cleveland Browns, okay? What do you think, with training camp just a few days away from opening up and the Cleveland Browns coming to camp, what do you think about the Browns taking Brandon Weeden in the first round of the NFL draft, man?
You and I had this talk last year. And I told you last year that they'd look at Colt McCoy like a throwaway quarterback. I hope this kid blows him away in camp. I really do. But the Browns look at Colt McCoy as a throwaway quarterback.
You think Brandon Weeden is the guy that can get the job done for the Cleveland Browns?
I think Brandon Weeden's going to get killed back there.
Oh, you really do?
I think if he... I don't care what anybody says, what you look like in college, you throw the football 900 miles an hour.
Well, I agree with you, man. College is one thing that's...
This is professional football.
Right.
The game speeds up, and for these athletes, and most of these guys will tell you, they have no idea how much faster the game is at this level than it was at their previous level. The game is way too fast. I don't think he's going to be able to adjust. I could be wrong. Maybe this guy's going to come out. I don't know. Like I said earlier, we don't have a whole lot of luck with quarterbacks.
Well, this will be the 17th quarterback since the Cleveland Browns returned to the NFL in 1999, man.
That statistic is disgusting when you think about it.
It is disgusting, but it's a true statistic.
Yeah, and how many of them quarterbacks either got, well, Tim Couch totally obliviated.
Well, Tim Couch, you talk about getting killed back there, man. We did him a
That's what I mean. That quarterback didn't have a chance.
Yeah, I mean,
look at the quarterbacks. Where are they all at? You know what I mean?
There's very few of them that are left playing professional football, I can tell you that.
Okay, you got Brady Quinn in Denver.
And he may never even play in a football game.
What about Anderson? Where's he at? Arizona?
Alex.
Carolina.
Behind Cam Newton.
Okay.
Huh, Alex?
Where's the rest of them?
Hold on.
Newton and Clausen.
So he may never see another down in professional football.
No.
No, that's what I mean.
Alex, is there any...
all 17.
Hold on a minute, man. We got the sports genius on the wheels of steel. Is there any former Cleveland Browns quarterback still playing in the NFL right now?
Brady Quinn.
No,
he could possibly start with Romeo Crennel as head coach. Yeah.
I forgot they traded Quinn from Denver to Kansas City now. Yeah, that's right. Because Romeo always liked Brady Quinn a little bit. For some reason, in the back of my mind, I thought he was still in Denver. But that's the only guy that the Cleveland Browns had as a quarterback that could physically get into a football game, right?
I believe so.
Charlie Fry done?
He's a third string.
Okay.
I don't even know who that is.
We had him here for a while, and we had that other guy. Who's the guy that we got from San Francisco once?
Ken Dorsey.
Yeah, he's done.
What the hell? Bring Brett Favre out of retirement. He's already beat the shit out of him.
Well, it's funny because...
Donovan McNabb said he's looking for work.
Is he? So is, what's his name? Braylon Edwards, man. But we got a pot smoker for a wide receiver this year, and I'll tell you one thing, man. That pot smoking makes this guy's eyes better than mostly everybody else. He might see that pass right into his hands coming up, man.
I don't care if he smokes dog shit. If he can catch the football...
Right. It doesn't bother me one bit the guy was busted for smoking pot. I think they ought to legalize marijuana and quit messing around with it, man. I think the only reason they do it is to make some money on it, like with the fines. They could tax it, make it legal, and the next thing you know, it's all over, man. We wouldn't have these problems, right?
So what do you think? What do you think of the Browns?
What do I think of the Browns?
Yeah.
I sincerely think they ought to give Colt McCoy another shot. I think he's got a little bit of experience with the speed of the NFL game. I think you're right about Brandon Weeden, and one thing that bothers me about Weeden is the fact that he had 5 years in the professional baseball organization and he couldn't get it done there due to shoulder problems, And let's face it, there's not too many guys coming at you full speed that weigh 330 pounds trying to hit you in Major League Baseball. So he's 29. Well, he's 28 years old now. He will be 29 years old in October.
All right, at 29 years old, and one of these linebackers at 265 pounds that's running a 4.5.
He's going to be.
How long do you think this guy's going to last?
It's going to be interesting to see because, another thing...
One tough son of a bitch, that's all.
You're right, man. He better be a tough son of a bitch.
He's got a running back this year, which, if this guy doesn't get killed, I think he's going to be a pretty good running back. But like you brought it up earlier, they better find someone that can block for this kid.
And that's another thing. Everybody forgets Lawrence Vickers, man. This guy was a workhorse for the Cleveland Browns.
And I love that guy.
And theoretically, who do we got back there? We got Jackson, who didn't even have a year in the NFL because of the toe injury, right?
Right.
We got Montero.
I don't even know who your fullbacks are.
I don't even think we have do we have a fullback, Alex?
Brad Smelly.
Where'd he come from?
Alabama. He blocked for Trent.
Oh, they got his blocker for him. Well,
They brought in Richardson, fullback from college.
Yes, 7th round, last pick.
But that might work.
we're going to see.
I've seen some film. He can receive the ball out of the backfield.
We don't have a choice but to see.
That might work.
Hey, well, thanks for calling in, douchebag. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. Don't stay a stranger, man. See what happens.
You know how it goes. Work. Sometimes you just got to work.
I understand that,
But
man.
enjoy your birthday.
Well, thank you very much for the birthday wishes, and we're gonna
You're welcome.
see what happens tomorrow night if these Cleveland Indians can get those bats swinging and get some guys on base and try to score some runs, man. Any predictions?
Well, you know what? The sad part about it is we know that they can do it. It isn't magic all of a sudden none of these guys can hit. The pitching didn't. You know what I'm saying? The pitching didn't change.
Right.
Somebody's got to get something up their rear end and just say, listen, you're either going to produce or you're going to sit. So there's to it.
And that's, you know, even when Santana was struggling as bad as he was, they should have talked about sending him down to Columbus for a week. I mean,
Well, you know, I agree with letting the guy play. I agree with that, okay? But not for 6 months,
right,
you know, at this level.
right.
And I think he's overrated anyways. I really do.
Who, Carlos?
I don't know. I think they're seeing things in him that just might not be there yet.
Well, they gave him a nice extension at the beginning of the season, so, you know, he's $21 million richer after this year, and,
Of course. And look at the production.
yeah, that's...
Yeah. You know, it'd be great when they start, if they could make these guys earn their pennies. You know what I mean? You put your big salary out, and then incentive-wise.
Well, I heard it the other night on another sports talk show on Saturday night that I was listening to, and the guy says until they become a salary cap like the NFL has with Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, and other sports, he's not watching them. He doesn't think it can be competitive. You can't. I mean, look at John. It killed me that the New York Yankees got swept by the Oakland A's. I mean, I loved it. I wrote a story. It was called "In the Battle of David versus Goliath." The A's came out on top. You know what I mean?
I love that too. You're talking $250 million, $250 million payroll.
Right.
Against a $30 million.
No, it was $53 million against.
Even that much.
Yeah, it was $53 million, I believe, was the figure against $197 million, man. But it was nice to see.
If it's going to happen, LG, now's the time to do it because the biggest guy that held all that up has passed on, George Steinbrenner.
Right.
You know, I mean, and again, how much money do you really have to make? The Yankees are the Yankees. They're always gonna make money.
Well, you got the Detroit owner now throwing boatloads of money at the Detroit Tiger team too, man. I mean, he went out and bought a bunch
but
of talent.
unfortunately, he can't. Well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but he can't sustain that. You know what I mean? This is like a 1 or 2 year thing for him. There's no way he's going to be able to
financially speaking, he's got a fortune, man. I mean, the guy's worth. You know, that's the problem. Larry Dolan's can't sustain what he has. We can't go into the Tigers and say this guy can't sustain it. Unfortunately,
I think Larry Dolan can sustain it. The Dolan family's got more money than a lot of us want to believe, but he won't do it.
He don't want to.
He won't do it. He's not the Jacob brothers. You know, he's not gonna. He just won't do it.
All right, man. Well, thanks for calling in. We're gonna
All right.
We're gonna see what happens starting tomorrow night. Hopefully, the Tribe can get a win going into the Tiger
see what
season.
happens tonight.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Tonight.
All right, man. You have a great night too, and thanks for the call. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude another edition of the Cleveland Sports 360 show. Let's hope our Cleveland Indians can get that offense going tonight against the Baltimore Orioles to avoid the sweep. I want to thank Joshua Lobdell for calling in. Check him out on Facebook. Look for Joshua Lobdell. And we'll see if the Detroit Tigers can come into Cleveland and take these Cleveland Indians. I'm hoping the Indians can get this offense going. We're going to have unsportsmanlike conduct coming up next at 7:05. Don't leave your computer. Make sure to catch the beautiful Kenya Huff Kenyon Johnson, and Christian Patterson, right here on Unsportsmanlike Conduct. We'll see you back here next week with another edition of the Cleveland Sports 360 Show. Good night and God bless you.